Okay, let's get right into it. We're going to talk about a pretty powerful idea today, one that might just completely reframe how you think about, well, everything, your career, your relationships, even your own happiness. We're digging into the difference between finite and infinite games, and why getting this distinction is so crucial for a life that actually feels good to live. You ever get that feeling, you're checking all the boxes, you're climbing the ladder, you're doing everything you're supposed to do, but there's this nagging sense that something's off. Like you're winning by all the standard rules, but you still feel like you're losing at the one thing that really matters, just living.
And this quote just gets right to the heart of it. That feeling, that dissatisfaction, it's not a personal failure. It's not because you're lazy or broken. Nope. It's a signal. It's a really important signal that the rules you've been following, the game you've been playing, it might not actually be your game.
Think about it like you're in a video game. An NPC, a non-player character, they just follow a script. They say their lines, they walk a path somebody else programmed for them. And when we just blindly follow that standard life path without ever asking why, we kind of risk becoming NPCs in our own story, right? We're playing a role that society or our family wrote for us instead of being the main character.
So how in the world do we end up in this spot? Well, it all starts with the rules and the scoreboards that we inherit without even realizing what's happening.
I mean, seriously, from the moment we're born, we are signed up for games we never consented to play. The school game, the career game, the social media game, and all of them are run by this set of invisible rules. These unspoken expectations that tell us exactly what success is supposed to look like.
And this is probably the biggest inherited game of them all, the life timeline game. This whole progression is basically treated as the default path to a good life. It's the one we're all just expected to play. But what happens if your journey doesn't fit this neat, tidy little timeline? Well, that's when things start to feel wrong.
Man, this analogy is just so powerful. It perfectly captures that feeling of being stuck, right? Stuck in all these obligations that just drain your energy, making you forget that a career should be a part of your life, not some kind of substitute for actually living it.
So here's the really crucial point. The issue goes deeper than just playing the wrong game. It's that we're also measuring our progress with a completely busted system. We are keeping score with all the wrong metrics.
I mean, just look at this comparison. Society screams at us to optimize for everything in that left column, your salary, your follower count, the size of your house. But what if the things that make a life truly rich are all over there in the right column? Things like fulfillment and peace, and just feeling alive and personal growth. When you're trying to win using the wrong scoreboard, you can get really good at being miserable.
Okay, so this brings us to the core concept, the idea that helps us make sense of this whole paradox, the difference between finite and infinite games.
All right, a finite game is pretty easy to understand. Think about a football game or a game of chess. The whole point is to win. You've got clear rules, you know who the players are, and there's a specific endpoint where someone is declared the winner and the game is just over. An infinite game, on the other hand, is a completely different animal. The main goal here isn't to win, it's just to keep the game going. Think about things like friendship or learning or even creating music. There are no winners and losers, and the game only really ends when the players just decide to stop playing.
You can see the fundamental differences laid out right here. Finite games are all about titles and trophies and finish lines. But infinite games, they're about evolution and resilience and just continuing. The mindset you need for each one is totally different.
And this right here, this is the tragedy of it all. Life, your career, marriage, being a parent, these are all infinite games. But we've been taught to play them with a finite mindset. We try to win at marriage, we try to beat our colleagues at work, and we try to finish life with the most stuff. And that's why reaching a goal can feel so empty, because you just won a game that was never meant to have a winner.
This quote just nails it, doesn't it? I mean, can you win at music? Can you defeat dancing? Of course not. That sounds ridiculous. The joy comes from the act of playing, from being in it, from getting better inside the game itself. The whole point is the process, not the final score.
So if we've been playing the wrong game this whole time, how do we find the right one? Let's get into some practical steps for discovering your own personal infinite game.
First things first, this is a huge mindset shift. This is not about inventing some new identity out of thin air. Your game, the right one for you, it already exists inside you. It's just buried under layers and layers of shoulds and supposed tos. So the work isn't creation. It's more like an excavation. It's about digging down and uncovering what's already there.
So here's a little framework to get you started. First, forget the massive pressure of finding your passion. Just notice what gives you energy. Second, pay attention to what you do when you're procrastinating on your to-do list. That's often your real game trying to come out and play. Third, you can explore the idea of ikigai. And finally, and this is so important, run small experiments. Date your interests for a while before you decide to marry.
All right, so once you start uncovering your game, the final piece of this whole puzzle is to take that old scoreboard, crumple it up, and design a new one that actually reflects what matters to you.
And this is where it gets really fun. Your new scoreboard can measure literally anything you want. I mean, imagine tracking your life not by your salary, but by how alive you feel. Not by the number of promotions you get, but by the quality of your contribution. These are the kinds of metrics that feed your soul, not just your ego.
The most important part here is that this new scoreboard is for you and you alone. It doesn't need anyone else's approval. It's not about impressing people you went to high school with. It's about creating your own internal compass that guides you toward a life of real, genuine satisfaction.
Look, changing course can be scary. There's a certain comfort in the familiar, even if it's making you miserable. But this quote is such a powerful reminder. That sharp, temporary pain of making a change, it's nothing compared to the chronic, soul-crushing ache of staying in a game that was never yours to begin with.
And that brings us to the ultimate paradox of it all. The moment you let go of that finite need to win, to beat other people, to get to some imaginary finish line, that's the moment you actually start succeeding in the infinite game of becoming more fully and authentically yourself. And that, my friends, is the real win.
So, the question isn't whether life is a game. The question is, which one are you going to play? The one that was assigned to you, or the one you were truly meant for? Your authentic, infinite game is right there. It's waiting for you. The only question left is, will you play?
You know that feeling, right? It's Sunday night, you're lying in bed, and boom, that familiar dread for Monday morning just starts creeping in. Your calendar? Totally full. But your soul? It feels kind of empty. You're doing everything you're supposed to do, but something just feels off. Well, what if I told you you're not broken? You're not lazy. You might just be playing the wrong game. So let's really get into this. Are you playing the wrong game? Because that feeling, that unease, it's not a personal failure. It's a symptom. It's the feeling you get when you've become an absolute pro at a game you never even chose to play, following a set of rules you never ever agreed to. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. Your entire career might be a meeting that should have been a life. This line, wow, it just perfectly frames the stakes, right? We spend decades climbing these ladders, sitting in meetings, but what if the entire structure we're climbing is leaning against the wrong wall?
All right, so how do we even begin to fix this? Well, the first step is always diagnosis. We have to start by understanding the invisible games that society pressures us into playing, often without us even realizing it.
I mean, from the moment we're born, we're basically handed these scripts. You know the drill. College by 22, married by 30, house by 35. We just follow these paths. It's almost like we're NPCs, non-player characters in a video game, just executing some pre-written code in a story somebody else wrote. But whose story is it, really?
And this comparison here really drives the point home. On one side, you have their game. It's all laid out for you. Climb the ladder, get followers, follow the timeline. It's defined, it's clear, but it's not yours. Then look at the other side, your game. It's unexplored, undiscovered, unwritten. It's a blank slate, just full of potential, basically waiting for you to pick up the controller.
And here's the crazy part. It's like Russian dolls of meaningless competition. See, you're not just playing the big career game. No. Inside that game, you're playing the networking game and the office politics game. And my favorite, the looking busy game. Each one is just a smaller, more suffocating version of the last. It's absolutely exhausting, and frankly, it's designed to be.
Okay, so playing the wrong game, that's a huge part of the problem. But it's not the only part. The second piece of this puzzle is that we're using the wrong scoreboard. We're keeping score with a system that doesn't measure a single thing that actually leads to a fulfilling life.
Just look at this breakdown. These are the old metrics we obsess over, right? Salary, follower count, relationship status. We check them constantly. But take a close look. Notice what's missing? Where's happiness? Where's fulfillment? Where's feeling alive? It's not there. And when you optimize your life for a scoreboard that doesn't even track what matters, you just get really, really good at being miserable.
And we all know someone like this, don't we? That successful friend who seems kind of dead inside, or the executive who has everything but has no reason to get out of bed in the morning. They're winning, at least according to the old scoreboard. Instagram says so, LinkedIn confirms it. But they feel completely trapped because that scoreboard, it was installed by someone else. Okay, this next idea is absolutely crucial. It's the difference between finite and infinite games. A finite game, think of something like a football match, has clear winners and losers. It ends. But an infinite game, like friendship or music, you play it for the sake of continuing to play. And here's the tragedy. We're trying to win at life, which is an infinite game. That's why reaching some big goal can feel so strangely empty. All right, enough about the problem, right? Let's talk about the solution. Because here's the good news. You don't have to invent your true game from scratch. You just have to uncover it. I promise, it's already there, just buried under years and years of shoulds and supposed tos. So here are 3 super practical steps to get started. First, forget the massive, soul-crushing pressure of finding your one true passion. Just start smaller. Step 1, follow your energy. Notice what lights you up versus what drains you. Step 2, notice your procrastination. Seriously, what do you do to escape? Those YouTube rabbit holes, those side projects, those are clues. You're often escaping to your real game. And finally, step 3, run small experiments. Date your interests before you marry them. You find your game by doing, not just by thinking. In this framework here, sometimes it's called Ikigai, it's a fantastic tool for this. This isn't some mystical quest. It's a really practical way to find that sweet spot, that intersection of what you love, what you're good at, what the world actually needs, and what you can be paid for. It's like the blueprint for your authentic game. Okay, and this brings us to what I think is the most powerful part of this whole thing. Once you start finding your game, you need a new way to keep score. It is time to design your own personal scoreboard. And here's the absolute key. Your new scoreboard, it doesn't need anyone else's approval. It doesn't have to make sense to your boss or your parents or a single person on social media. It only needs to measure what is genuinely, authentically meaningful to you. I mean, just look at some of these ideas. Imagine tracking deep conversations per week instead of your follower count, or moments of genuine laughter. How alive you feel. Think about a programmer who stops measuring lines of code and starts tracking elegant solutions discovered. See? This isn't about productivity anymore. It's about measuring what makes you feel alive. So here's the final piece of practical advice. You have to take this out of your head and make it real. Write it down. Put your new metrics on a sticky note on your monitor, on your bathroom mirror, somewhere you'll see it every single day. Look, the old scoreboard isn't just going to disappear overnight, but now you'll have a real, tangible alternative to look at. And really, it all comes down to this. This is the entire mindset shift, right here. Stop trying to win, start playing. Because when you're playing your infinite game, the goal isn't to beat someone else or cross some finish line. The goal is just to become more yourself and to keep the beautiful game of your life in play. Ultimately, your authentic game has always been there, just waiting for you. The players are ready, the board is set, so the only question left is the one you see right here. Your game is waiting. Are you ready to play?
Welcome, everyone. Today, we're going to dissect a really uncomfortable feeling. That nagging sense that something is just off in your life, even when you're doing everything right. But what if that feeling isn't a personal failure? What if it's a sign that you're playing the wrong game of life entirely? Okay, let's get into it. You know this feeling all too well. It's Sunday night, you're lying in bed, and this sense of dread for the week ahead starts creeping in. It's that familiar knot of anxiety in your stomach. We often write it off as just stress or a bad week, but really it's a symptom of a much, much deeper misalignment.
And this is the core idea we're exploring today. That nagging feeling isn't a flaw in your character. You're not broken or lazy. It's a signal. It's a warning light on your personal dashboard, telling you that the game you're pouring all your energy into isn't the one you were meant to play.
To get to the bottom of this, we're first going to break down what it even means to be playing the wrong game. Then, we'll expose the invisible rules and scorecards that are running our lives. We'll identify the specific warning signs, then shift into how you can find your game, and finally, how to redesign what winning actually means to you.
All right, let's kick off section 1. This metaphor is just perfect. Imagine you are meticulously buying up properties, collecting rent,
Pass and go. You are absolutely crushing it at Monopoly. But when you look around, you realize the whole room is silent, strategically moving bishops and knights. You might be winning, but it's in a completely irrelevant context. That's the feeling.
We operate under the assumption that if we just work hard enough, follow the rules, and put in the time, we'll be rewarded with fulfillment. But the reality is, we've been enrolled in a game we never signed up for, chasing goals that were handed to us, not chosen by us. This brings us to a key concept, the NPC. In video games, these are the background characters who repeat the same lines and walk the same paths, day in and day out. And the uncomfortable truth is, a lot of us are living like NPCs in our own lives. We say living the dream, but we never stop to ask, whose dream is this exactly?
So, if we're playing a game we didn't choose, who wrote the rules? Let's follow this thread. In this section, we're going to expose the invisible systems, the rules and scoreboards that keep us trapped. Sound familiar? These are the inherited scripts, passed down like old furniture. They aren't inherently bad, but they are external. They're society's default settings for a successful life. The key question is this: were these ever goals you consciously chose, or did you just sort of absorb them as the way things are?
Now, what's so fascinating about this slide is the contrast. See, society's scoreboard is crystal clear. It gives you a number to measure, your salary, your follower count. But when you look at the column for your scoreboard, it's often blank. We've become excellent at optimizing for metrics that don't actually measure what matters to us. It's like using a thermometer to measure your weight. You'll get a number, but it's completely meaningless.
This is where it gets even trickier. The concept of mimetic desire explains that our goals are often just copies. We see someone else succeeding on a certain career path, or an influencer posting about a certain lifestyle, and we automatically adopt that desire as our own. We're all just copying each other's homework, but no one's actually doing the original assignment.
And this brilliantly illustrates a core tragedy. We treat the infinite parts of our lives, like our relationships, our learning, or life itself, like they are finite games that can be won. You can't win a marriage or a friendship. The goal is to keep the game going, to grow, to deepen the connection. When you try to win an infinite game, you'll feel empty at the finish line because you've ended something that was meant to continue. And it's applying this win-lose mindset to life that creates the cracks, the warning signs our bodies and souls send us.
Okay, so we get the problem, but how does it actually show up in our daily lives? This section is a bit of a diagnostic. We're going to look at the specific, often uncomfortable signs that you're playing the wrong game.
This might feel a little too real. We start with denial, brushing it off. Then we self-medicate with caffeine. When that doesn't work, we spiral into a full-blown existential crisis, only to distract ourselves by leveling up in the exact same wrong game, announcing a new job on LinkedIn as if that will fix the root problem. It's a cycle of avoidance.
Let's get into the uncomfortably specific details. That feeling of being busy but not productive. Hitting a milestone and feeling nothing. Working so hard that you have no energy left for the life you've supposedly built. Or how about this one? Feeling a flash of anger or envy when you see someone who has less but seems more at peace. That anger is recognition. It's your authentic self screaming to be let out.
This is so important. That persistent fatigue, that tension in your shoulders that no massage can fix, it's not just physical, it's existential. The source material puts this perfectly. Your soul is rejecting the game like a bad organ transplant. Your body knows you're in the wrong place long before your mind is ready to admit it.
Okay, that last part was heavy. But here's the twist, the good news. We're pivoting now to the solution. Your authentic game already exists. It's not something you have to invent out of thin air, it's something you have to uncover, buried under years and years of shoulds and supposed tos.
The advice to find your passion is frankly overwhelming. It's too much pressure. So let's start with something much simpler and more practical: energy. For 1 week, try conducting an energy audit. What activities, conversations, or tasks leave you feeling energized, and which ones leave you feeling completely drained? This is your first clue.
A fantastic framework for this search is the concept of ikigai. This isn't some mystical idea, it's a practical map. Looking at the slide, you see 4 circles. The first, what you love, is about the passions that truly make you feel alive. The second, what you're good at, is about your talents and skills. Third, what the world needs, connects your work to a greater purpose. And finally, what you can be paid for is the practical side.
Your game often lies at the intersection of these four circles, that sweet spot where personal fulfillment meets real-world application.
You don't find your game by thinking, you find it by doing. Pay attention to what you do when you're procrastinating. That's often your authentic self trying to escape to its real game. Run small, low-stakes experiments. Take a class, start a tiny side project. Date your interests. You don't have to quit your job tomorrow. Just start exploring.
And this brings us to the final and most empowering step. Once you start to find your game, you need a new way to keep score. You get to be the game designer. You get to define what winning actually looks like.
Just look at this comparison. We're replacing the old external metrics with new internal ones that are rich and deeply personal. Imagine measuring your life not by your job title, but by the number of sunsets you've watched. Not by your salary, but by how true to yourself you feel. This new scoreboard doesn't have to make sense to anyone else. It only has to make sense to you.
Of course, change is scary. The sunk cost fallacy will be screaming at you, but you've invested so much already. And yes, you have. In the wrong direction. The fear you feel when considering a change isn't a stop sign. It's confirmation that you're moving towards something real and authentic.
And here is the final paradox. The moment you let go of trying to win society's finite game, you open yourself up to true success in your own infinite game. It stops being about beating other people and starts being about becoming more of yourself. Sunday nights become for planning, not for dreading. Work becomes expression, not suppression.
We'll end with this question, because the game you were born to play is waiting. It's been there all along. The players are ready. The board is set. All you have to do is stop playing their game and start playing yours. Thank you for watching.